Welcome, Power to Weight athletes. Today we're going to talk about motivation. Talk about what gets you going. Hopefully will get you started either working out with me or working out with somebody else or being healthy or anything else. I pretty much started in this about 20 years ago, but my most significant moment came in 2009, so it was a decade ago. That's when the race of my life, the most important race that I've done, took place. So I kind of looked this up today because I wrote a race report, which is right here. This was written a decade ago, and I printed this out today. And what I'm going to do is basically just read off of it. It involves triathlon. If you don't know what triathlon is, it involves swimming, biking, and running. This race in particular involves the Ironman triathlon, so it's swimming 2.5 miles, biking 112, and then running a full marathon, which is 26 miles, just over 26 miles. So hopefully you'll give me a couple minutes to read this through, and hopefully this will help you guys on your way to your whatever goal you might have. And remember, whatever motivates you, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something, and you don't have to share it with anybody like I'm about to share this with you. So here we go. I'm going to be looking down at this piece of paper a little bit here, but here it is. So reading word for word. In 2009 Ironman World Championship on October 10th, 2009. So like I said, it was a decade ago. I raced the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. As many of you know, I can talk about triathlon until the end of time and bore you with all the endless times, numbers, statistics, and other geeky tri stuff. This race report is not about how I finished. To me, it's about why I finished. A few years ago, before GPS watches, carbon anything, aero helmets, and most HR monitors, I ran the Chicago Marathon. Since fancy pacing and distance gadgets did not exist, I ran around the park by my house. It was exactly a mile around. So every Sunday morning, I would run 20 miles around to get my long run in. These runs plus some running during the week was my training. In 1999, I competed in the Chicago Marathon in a time of 3 hours and 28 minutes and 8 seconds. In the grandstands that day was my uncle and my dad who came to watch me finish. As I crossed the finish line, my dad happened to look away and never saw me cross the finish line. A few months later, my dad and I were channel surfing, and we stumbled upon the Ironman broadcast. I talked about how amazing it is to watch these athletes compete in the marathon after swimming 2.4 miles and biking 112 miles. My dad, however, being raised in communist Poland, had a little different thoughts on the race. He thought it was a hoax. It was an American propaganda, as he used to always say, made-for-TV reality show. That was before MTV had the real world. We argued and argued, but he refused to believe it. Unfortunately, we never got to settle that argument, and he never got a chance to watch me finish a marathon, as a few months later, pancreatic cancer took his life. It wasn't until a couple of years later, and a year into my newly discovered sport of triathlon, that I decided to renew the argument with my old man. I decided to try and race Kona. Kona is the world championship of long-distance triathlon racing. Knowing that if I competed the race, he would have no choice but to believe that what he saw on TV that day was true. I also made a decision to finish that race carrying the shirt from 1999 marathon, just so he would not miss me finishing again. If you want to know details, you can ask me some other time. The only significance for me was to finish strong with that shirt. As all Ironman events, the cannon went off at 7 a.m. I was already a little tired from treading the water for 20 minutes, but the race was on. As soon as I started to swim, I did not feel comfortable. I could never find my open water, and I was really passive to the other athletes around me. Had a hell of a time sighting and judging by my swim split, which was 1 hour and 21 minutes, which is slow. I could not have swum in a straight line, at least not freestyle. Honestly, there was not much to talk about here, as describing the Ironman swim is about as interesting as swimming 4K straight in a pool while staring at that black line at the bottom. Out of the water to T1, T1 being transition 1. Smooth and slow through there as usual. Took off my speed suit, grabbed my sunglasses and race number, and jogged out in a record-setting 5 minutes and 34 seconds out of T1. Having swam to within an hour of the cutoff time, whatever race pressure there was before was now gone. First portion of the bike ride took me through a town. It was relatively easy. Aside from a minor mechanical mishap, I was feeling pretty good. After about 10 miles, I hit the famous Queen K Highway. It was perfectly flat, rolling road. Since I was in a 1399th place after the swim, I had a good amount of people to pass. Thank God, because there was nothing else on either side of the road aside from endless miles of lava. To keep myself entertained, I would occasionally yell out "nice ass" to anybody wearing one of those ridiculous white tri-suits. Yes, I was trying to have an enjoyable Kona experience, and not much could ruin it. A little more than halfway, we reached the town of Heave. This is where the bike turnaround is at. I was averaging about 21.5 miles an hour and I was pretty damn happy about it. You see, the air temperature was now at about 105 degrees, with a dampening effect of humidity at about 85%. However, I pretty much convinced myself that the temperature would not bother me at all, and while I noticed the bike effort down, I did not let the quick bake oven conditions bother me. Sorry about reading this. This is written really small and I can't see. About 75 miles into the ride, things started to change a bit. I was still flying at my steady pace that was now reduced to about 17 miles an hour. It was upwind, but I was not comfortable anymore. I've sort of gotten bored with passing people, and there was an endless miles of lava fields to right through. I thought about my wonderful family. It did not make me feel any better, sorry. Thought about my dad. That didn't work either. Thought about those silly white tri-suits. Nothing, not even a chuckle. I was drained, not so much physically as I was still riding strong and no one was passing me, but mentally, I thought maybe my old man was right. Maybe this is a reality show and it is filmed in 3 days. Then at about a mile 80, I heard a faint clicking sound coming. Not much left, guys, not much left. Coming from my front wheel. Click, 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 and so on. As I looked down, I noticed a small piece of electrical tape stuck to my brand new tire. Now I had to deal with this. Should I stop? Is it worth it? The more I gave it thought, the more I became comfortable with the noise. Click, 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 click. Crap, after a few miles, I learned to enjoy it. A little piece of tape, or tapey, became my new best friend. For the next 25 miles, back to town, it kept me company. We talked, sang, and clicked as the miles ticked away together. It was hot, okay? I was delirious. Before I knew it, I was back in town in 5 hours and 12 minutes of a solid, steady bike effort. Just like the first bike section, I again averaged about 21.5 miles an hour. I was in and out of T2, that's transition 2, that's when you change from the bike to the run. Once again, smooth and slow in 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Let the death march begin. It was a nice and cool 90 degrees in town. I felt okay, but not great, but just okay. Like the bike ride, the first portion of the run was through town. 5 miles down and 5 miles back. I was running at about 7:30 per mile pace. Just like the ride, I made some quick pacing adjustments. 7:15s were out of the question. 7:30 pace became bearable, but my perceived exertion was high, and I would start breathing as if I was a mile 20. So then I notched it down to the 7:45 pace. Mile 11 is where the race really starts. This is the bottom of Pelini Road Hill before we again hit the Queen K Highway and the lava fields. I ran up the hill. I don't like to walk. This is a marathon, not a walkathon. In a blistering 8:45 pace. Then it was the longest 5.5 mile stretch on a barren road to the famous energy lab. At about mile 14, I was starting to feel like crap again. This time, however, it was definitely physical, not mental. I ran by 8 stations, picking up anything they had. Icy cold sponges, ice water, water gels, Coke, water, ice, water, food. I ate and drank everything besides the sponges, stuffed ice down my suit and into my arm coolers and trekked on. It freaking hurt like hell. I saw Chrissy Wellington, the women's champion, running in the opposite direction. I yelled, "Hey, baby." She smiled back, and I thought, damn, I was getting checked big time today. And I smiled back at her. That got my motor moving a bit. The energy lab was next. Not sure what they do in this energy lab. I'm sure you can Google it, but I'm pretty sure that those solar panels don't mean that it will be cooler in there than it was on the road. The first mile there was not bad as I was running downhill faster and upwind, which made me a little bit cooler. The next chunk was fine too. I mean, I was jogging, not walking, and I was happy with that. The mile running out was hellish. See, now it was uphill, slow, and downwind, hot. And I did not mention the temperature had climbed to 108 and the humidity was at 90 degrees, 90%. I didn't make it out, however, without walking, and I was now running down the home stretch down the Queen K Highway towards Kona. Ali Drive and the finishing chute. My pace had picked up to a blistering 7:45 again. It was hot, I was tired and sore, but I was almost done. At mile 24 3/4, I was running down Pelini Hill and I saw a wheelchair athlete struggling to get up the hill. I turned around and ran up the hill with him for about 20-30 yards, cheering him on. It was an amazing experience for me to put all the day's suffering into perspective. I did not have it tough, he did. As I turned back around, I crossed mile 25 on a timing mat. Another half mile ran by, and my friend Russell, who promptly handed me a marathon t-shirt for me. I was now running down Ali Drive with a huge sunburned grin on my face. I took it all in. I loved every step and breath of it. I had done it. I still choke up when I read this. I crossed the finish line having won the argument with my dad. My arms extended into the early evening sky showed that it can be completed in one day. I crossed the finish line in 10 hours. Sorry, I can't see anymore because my eyes are watery. In 10 hours, 9 minutes, 9 seconds, after a 3-hour and 24-minute marathon. There I saw my wife Dora and my son Alex, and gave them both huge hugs. Thanked them both, and proceeded to cry for the next few minutes, as I'm doing now. Clinching them both. Thank you. Thank you guys, and thank you all, and you know who you are. So I'm just saying, anything can be motivation to you. Maybe your family. For me during the race, and happy to be a piece of tape. And I'm going to take these off because my eyes are watery. And by the way, this is kind of rumbling on today. But this is the t-shirt that I ran my marathon in 1999 that my dad never got to finish and never got to saw the finish line. This is the t-shirt I crossed the finish line with during the 2009 Hawaii Kona Ironman. Like I said, whatever guys you can find to motivate you, you go ahead and do it. If you be healthy, be fit, live long. I can't say and prosper, but that would be silly. Have a good one. Hope you guys listen to this, and I'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.